Welcome to the Business Development Podcast, brought to you by the Global Business Development Association, delivering the strategies and tactics to boost your career and corporate growth.
Welcome, everyone, to the Global Business Development Association podcast called What is Business Development? And today we're with Sachin Wadhawan. And Sachin has a great book out on the streets. You have to take a look at it. I've read it. Fantastic book. But let me tell you a little bit about Sachin a little bit. He has over 20 years of experience driving the growth of SaaS enterprise platforms, spanning early-stage startups to post-IPO companies. His career encompasses a diverse range of industries, including nonprofit technology, healthcare, ad tech, AI-driven content marketing, video platforms, e-commerce, and agentic AI orchestration. This broad exposure has provided him with a unique perspective and a deep expertise in both technical and solution selling roles, establishing him as a highly respected go-to market leader. He's passionate about sales engineering and Sachin hosts the podcast called Coffee with Sales Engineers. And he's the author of Trust Your SE. It's a book dedicated to elevating awareness and appreciation for the sales engineering profession out on the streets, like I said. And look, hey, do you work or collaborate or even interact with sales engineers? If you work for a tech company, you likely do. Sales engineering has not only become a critical role for every successful sales team, it has grown its influence across many other functions, including customer success, product marketing, and folks, wait for it, business development. So listen, if you're in sales, do you want to know how best to leverage SEs to win bigger and better deals faster? Yeah, I bet you do. Same thing for you BD pros out there. Do you ever wonder what an SE career path looks like? And what are SE superpowers? I can't wait to hear about those. And what challenges do SEs face? Well, listen, grab this book. It's easy reading. It's filled with fun insights, personal stories from Sachin, and I've read through it. Very easy reading. It flows really nicely, nice and clean writing. It's fun, fast paced. You're looking about 220 pages on Kindle. And what I like about it too, everything follows a logical flow. You jump into the table of contents, and it's a great thing you can just jump in and out of. You don't need to start, at the beginning, page 1, to figure out where you are in page 200. You can just kind of drop in where you need to. And read it on the go and gain some really valuable insights. So, Sachin, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you for having me here.
Well, it's great to have you. And for folks that may be listening, you cannot see Sachin's t-shirt, but it is fantastic. Look at it. It says, Trust Your SE. I love that because as business developers, we know, I think on page 2 or 3 of the business development body of knowledge, we talk about trust. Trust is the foundation of every business deal.
That's
Without
right.
trust, you can't nail any deal. It's not going to happen. You have to have trust. So I love that you have your Trust Your SE shirt on, such. And I have to find out if you have a store or something where I can buy one of those, because
I do. I'll send you a link.
Great. Well, and I know you have a book that's
Yes.
for sale as well. So let's jump into the book and let's learn about that, because I'm really fascinated to understand what was that aha moment that made you say, you know what, I really need to write a book. And for folks, if you have not written a book before, probably one of the most painful things you can do, arduous things you can do, both on yourself, your family, your loved ones. It is a lot of work. I've done it. Sachin's done it. So you don't make that decision lightly. So Sachin, what drove you to write the book?
It is a lot of work. It's truly inspiring. And for anybody listening, if you have thought about writing a book, you should write a book, because there's a story that each of us can share and write from our experiences, personal and professional. The aha moment there were probably many aha moments along the way. The purpose and the vision for writing and publishing the book was really, as somebody who grew up in sales and SC profession, sales engineering profession, I saw a lot of material, content, training, enablement available for sales reps on how to build that expertise in business development and winning deals and things like that. I also saw a lot of amazing content available for sales engineers. It's a relatively unknown, undervalued profession. So some of these books have really helped people become better sales engineers. The gap I found along the way was there wasn't an overlap. There wasn't a bridge between how do account executives or BDR or business development, partner managers, anybody revenue driving, how can they benefit from the sales engineers within their company? And that's what inspired me to write the book, because I feel that intersection of somebody who's accountable for revenue and somebody who's the technical expert along the way, how can they work with each other in synergy? And I'll tell you, Tony, in my 20 years of sales engineering, both as an individual contributor and a leader, when that synergy works, it's magic. It's magic. People can see, even listeners can think about the SCs they work with or sales engineers they have worked with in the past. There's when that relationship is solid, sky is the limit of what you can achieve. So the purpose of the book is really to educate people on both sides, both sales reps, BDRs, on how you can optimize the asset, this amazing asset of sales engineer that you have access to.
Yeah, sales engineers are tremendous assets. And as long as I've been working with them, I still gathered some really good nuggets from your book. The sections that jumped out at me, you have three sections that I really resonated with me. One is your shirt. It's the chapter called The Trusted Advisor.
Yeah.
So I really like that. It's foundational to your theme. And I think what's great is that foundation is also part of the business development foundation, as we mentioned earlier.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, I got a kick out of your demo monkeys chapter. I love. Can you explain really quickly what are demo monkeys?
Yeah, it's and what's interesting is the profession has gone through evolution, just like all professions, right, over the last 10, 15 years. And we're right at the cusp of even more evolution as AI, enters our professional universe. Demo monkey really refers to when sales engineers are not leveraged appropriately, right? They act as demo monkeys, which is what that's simplifying is mundane task, right? So if a sales rep asks, "Hey, you are a smart technical person, just show up on this call in case the prospect asks a technical question," right? That's not really empowering and meaningful, use of that amazing asset. That's what I refer to demo monkey. Actually, believe it or not, before the Trust Your SC t-shirt that I'm wearing was born almost 10 years ago, because I always believed in, to your point, trust is the core to any sales relationship. But before this t-shirt, my original t-shirt was, like Salesforce came up with that no software sign. So I had a demo monkey, and then it was like a crossing it out sign. So that was the original t-shirt, but that's where that term comes from.
Wow, you should just start a whole line of T-shirts too that just accompany the book. It's a nice.
I have. There's an online store called scbazaar.com that does sell T-shirts related to sales engineering.
That's great. Well, send the link to me. We'll put that in the show notes. That'll be a lot of fun for the SEs out there and for the BD folks out there, because, the great BD people that I've seen, they have formed very strong relationships with their SEs. And I'm talking, across the board in many of the disciplines of business development, but most importantly for those that are doing prospect development, that are in the brand activation phase. Right after marketing does the awareness phase, you go right into the prospect development phase with the business developers there, cultivating, nurturing those relationships, understanding the intrinsic needs, the extrinsic needs of your prospect, and then making sure you provide those valuable pieces of information to your sales engineer up front. And to your point of the demo monkeys, Sachin, I think that helps eliminate the demo monkeys issue of, well, just look, I just need my SE to join on the call in case
Yeah.
I get stumped by the prospect. No,
Yeah.
the intrinsic needs, those extrinsic needs should be provided to the SE, so the SE can really tailor that demo that really resonates and speaks to those key elements of your prospect's needs, both what they extrinsically tell you, and then intrinsically what they're really feeling emotionally, so that your SE can really hit those pain points.
Yeah. It's a proven model for anybody on this call. If you want to sell bigger deals, better deals, and you want to sell those deals faster, that's where you leverage your sales engineering more effectively, right? And I think I intentionally, when I wrote the book, my initial thinking was, okay, let me just write everything that I've experienced. But I realized that's not sufficient. That's just my single point of view of companies that I've been at, teams that I've been part of. So I intentionally started to curate leaders, both revenue leaders, product leaders, services leaders, sales engineering leaders who have very different background than I did. So a lot of the stories from those people on really validating that using sales engineering, you can sell bigger, better, faster deals.
Yeah, and that's great. That leads right to the third key element that jumped out at me in the book, and that is a whole dedicated chapter to business development. And
That's
so
right.
I like how you covered the entire team, and you looked at the sales engineer's role from the entire team's perspective. How can the salespeople leverage SEs and across the board, customer success, and so I really like how you address the sales engineer's contribution to the entire team across the entire customer journey. So that's great. I hope we did not talk about or touch on too many of your tactics here, but this is usually the part of the show where we like to jump into your top 3 tactics that you would like to share with everybody, with all the business developers listening. So is it okay if we jump right into tactic
Let's
number
jump
1?
into it, Tony. You read the book, so I think you picked out the best ones that I wanted to highlight. But I have a few other nuggets in there. I think the first one that comes to mind that I think this audience would really benefit from is the sales engineers don't go through a certified education to become a sales engineer, right? There is no undergraduate or master's degree in sales engineering yet. Everybody kind of learns along the way, but what's unique about them is that they have this really good blend of business acumen and technical expertise, right? So they are subject matter experts. They are intellectually curious, and they can bring a lot of that into the business setting where it's needed the most, right? In revenue acquisition and customer acquisition and those areas. So there are 3 superpowers that I talk about in the book, which the tactic there is when you're working with your sales engineers, identify some of these superpowers, recognize it. And if you're not, right, empower your sales engineers to deliver on some of these superpowers, because they usually, good sales engineers, great sales engineers usually have these. And the first one, as you mentioned already, trusted advisor, right? I think the same way the BDR, AE, SE, anybody that's interacting with prospects or customers, right? You have to develop that trust that what you're talking about, you know what you're talking about, you're presenting the solution with the customer's best interest in mind. And a lot of that superpower comes from this innate quality that sales engineers have, which is 100% curiosity, right? When you walk into a meeting, even though you've presented to that same profile or persona of prospect hundreds of times, you can walk in saying, I know what problems you're going to have, what questions you're going to have. Let me just go into the answers. You have to walk in with, you are unique. And I really want to understand, what is it about the challenges you're experiencing before I start giving you answers, right? And then this is harder for BDRs or maybe sales reps to do than for SEs, is the ability to say no, right? When they're asking for a feature or a capability, and it's okay, right? This is kind of where the yin yang and the Batman Robin relationship that A's and SEs have, which is, if a prospect is asking a question that you know you don't do, right? It's much easier for SC to present that, that's interesting you're asking. We don't do that today, but let me actually give you some recommendations on how we can accomplish what you're trying to accomplish, right? And I think every time an SC says no or maybe, it builds that higher level of trust that you're not just saying yes to everything. And that's a superpower that SCs have, because for them, because of the technical curiosity, they can always come up with, the answer is no, but let me give you an answer on how it can be done, right? So that's trusted advisor. It's hard earned, right? You don't walk in with, oh, I've got a master's in computer science, so you trust me. SCs have to earn it along the way in the journey. But once it's earned, that's what helps close deals faster. That's the first one.
I love tactic number one. Lot to unpack there, if we can. I like the Batman and Robin concept.
Yes.
Yeah, not well. Maybe some folks could probably say good cop, bad cop. Huh?
It's a pair, right? It's you should complement each other versus duplicate each other. So when it's complemented, there are things you can feed off of each other. I actually talk about in the book. I talk about demo dance. This is another. It's a pretty long chapter, but it kind of goes into this concept. I'm trying to visualize that when you show up to a prospect, right? It's the A and the SC that are doing the dance. And it's so intricate that it's almost like husband, wife, or whatever relationship you want to say. Like, I should be able to read the vibe of my AE. Like, do they want me to go deep into technical? Do you want me to slow down? Right. And you usually don't have time to like write notes to each other. You just have to feel each other's energy to be able to deliver an excellent, presentation together.
Yeah, I really like that, because, trusted advisor it's kind of a play a little bit. It has more than just one single meaning, which, probably people initially think, oh, trusted advisor to the customer, or the prospect, I should say. But it's also a trusted advisor to the AE, right?
Yes.
I mean, and to the BD on the front end as well, because BD's setting expectations when they're doing prospect development oftentimes. And you need that kind of a safety valve, if you will, that regulator that kind of says, no, okay. Oh, settle down. Don't get too far ahead of yourself. That is not technical reality. We cannot do that right now, because as I always like to joke, I'm a business developer. We can do anything.
Right. Anything can also be negative, right? From a buyer's perspective, it's like, oh, you can do anything. So
well, and that's a great point. I like how you focus on the element of truth.
Yeah.
The SE is really that element of truth. And as we talk about in the BD block, the business development body of knowledge, there is neuroscience associated with trust building. And it comes down to three key elements: purpose, empathy, and truth. And those trigger dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin. These are all the neurochemicals, that brain cocktail that creates trust. And so truth is a critical component of it. Yeah. And actually, there have been studies that have shown when somebody truthfully delivers that, a product or a service or a follow-up, that actually triggers the release of dopamine in the brain, which then kind of has cascading effects on oxytocin and serotonin. So that truth, I mean, you have to have that SE there. And I think, as a business developer and an AE, it's a great relief to be able to have an SE there that is a trusted advisor, not only to the prospect who's going to tell the truth, but also keep you squared away as the business developer AE, because that could turn into a real fiasco. I've seen it before. Overpromise and underdeliver. And from a business developer's perspective, when the definition and the mission of business development is customer and community advocacy that creates corporate growth, I tell you what, there's no greater wrecking ball to your reputation, your brand in the marketplace than upset customers. And they're going to be upset if you do not meet the expectations you set prior to conversion into a customer. So really critical to have that Batman and Robin dynamic duo to build trust with the prospect. So, so that's tactic number one, Batman and Robin dynamic duo built on trust. All right,
Tactic number two, I love that. Tactic number two is kind of weaves into what you were just saying, Tony. There's people buy from people, right? So there's a human element to this, right? And as I think about the evolution of AI, I think where AI is going to help us all is do the monkey work, right? Do the demo monkey work, but it's leave the human element to us. So the second tactic is really about a superpower, about being a chameleon, right? And I think BDRs and anybody in prospect facing have this innate ability to be able to walk into a meeting, read the room better, understand who is asking questions, why are they asking that question right now, and really be more of a consultative person versus a teacher versus a trainer in those settings. And meetings fluctuate, right? Like you walk into the meeting and the first 5 minutes are great, and then somebody asks something and you answer and you can feel the vibe kind of go down. And so there's this sixth sense ability to be able to feel, right? And has the energy changed in this room? And the smart SEs can again feed off of their AEs to say, okay, I know we had planned to show all these things, but let's slow down. Let's come back to this topic that has triggered them. Let's focus on this, right? So I think that being a chameleon, being able to, if the CTO is asking a lot of questions, let's roll up the sleeves and let me be as geeky as I can be. But what if it's the business leader that's asking questions? Answering those questions with more technical is not going to make that person happy. So let's put on the suit and be more of a business, play a business role. That's the chameleon aspect of sales engineering that I think a lot of people don't recognize. But for BDRs that have worked with their SEs, you can feel it when you see it. You're like, whoa, you just shifted your vibe and you were able to do it so seamlessly. That was pretty amazing.
Yeah, well, keep talking like that, and I'm going to call you a business developer. Okay.
There you go.
Well, actually, what I really liked in your book is you did bring up the point that sometimes some of the best business developers are people that were sales engineers. They were
Engineers,
SEs.
right?
And so if I were summarized tactic number two, it's really demonstrating empathy during the engagement as sales engineer to really get to the root of what benefits are they looking for. They're, features. You could run through features all day long, probably bore the heck out of them, and never address what the key benefits are that they're looking for. And I kind of want to go back to what you said earlier too, if we could clarify, because you said that you as the SE want to be able to engage the prospect from the standpoint of asking questions that get to what the intrinsic needs are, as opposed to the features of extrinsic needs. Those are usually well telegraphed well in advance, and you know those. But asking questions, I just want to clarify too, because I think some people, particularly more junior people that have not been experienced, they hear that and they go, oh, well, I should just ask a bunch of open-ended questions right from the start.
Yeah.
And as a business developer who's been doing this for a long time, I think that can go sideways really quickly, because then the prospect starts to think, well, what are we doing here? I mean,
am I being interviewed? Right, exactly.
Right. So what do you recommend to those that are probably starting off or want to get into the SE role, right? There may be SDRs or BDRs that want to jump into SE for a while and engage in that. So what do you recommend for those that are kind of starting off, and kind of what kind of questions, or how do you normally ask those questions?
Yeah, I think it comes back to that intellectual curiosity, right? Everybody has an agenda that you're trying to get out of this meeting. It's how you achieve the results is what's important, right? So being able to, you can't walk in with, here are my 10 questions and I need to make sure I get the answer, right? The answer to the first question should dictate what are the next questions you're going to ask, right? So it needs to be fluid. And this kind of goes back to the tactic number two is, right, it may be one-on-one discussion, and maybe there's 5 people that you're doing discovery with. Maybe the discovery is happening during demonstration, right? And there's, to me, you're always doing discovery throughout the sales cycle, right? So understanding, are they open to answer your questions? Have you earned that trust, right? Where they have lowered their guards down, and now you can ask that question that you really wanted to get. Or do you need to do a little bit more massaging of the relationship, right? So I think it's that type of skill set and sixth sense to be able to know, yes, it's important for me to get these questions, but do I have the permission? Do I have the trust? Have I, have I created enough safe place amongst us, or are they still? They might have walked away from another similar presentation from one of our competitors, and before they even started talking to you, in their mind, they've already chosen that solution, right? Have you convinced them that you are a good alternate, right? So it's things like that, kind of goes back to the chameleon. How can you shape shift your approach to get the results that you want?
Yeah, I really like a couple of things you said there. Asking questions, it's a barometric indicator of trust. If
Yeah.
they are responding to your questions truthfully and elaborating on their responses, that's an indicator that, okay, I'm building trust here. They're engaged. If not, then you probably need to change tack and pivot and figure out where to go next. And then asking those questions that really get to the heart of what they're trying to achieve. And then, also kind of, I've always said, questions are the way to get to those intrinsic needs that are never published, nobody else knows about. And so you want to get to those because, like you said, if you're facing a competitor and you go to bid, if it's an open bid process where there are multiple bidders, you're the one that knows really what speaks to the heart of what the prospect really wants. And that's tremendous competitive capability. So, okay, love tactic number 2, the chameleon tactic.
Yeah.
What about tactic number 3?
I'll go with this one the pretty fast, but it's for everybody that's seen Matrix, the movie Matrix, right? There's that scene where, and this is in the book as well, the scene where Neo first discovers that he's got this power to slow time, right? So the tactic is, and the superpower is time stopper. And the reason it's all kind of related to what we've talked about, but during a 30-minute, 45-minute meeting, right, you can spend that time in many different permutations ways, right? Ideally, it's everything you show, every question you ask, every question you answer, it's serving and building towards the purpose of what you're trying to, what you're trying to get out of this meeting with that prospect. The time stopper tactic is the skill set that SCs again have this innate ability to be able to listen to the objection, right? So imagine the objection is the bullet that's coming in, right? Initial reaction is like, oh, they just asked this question. I already have the answer because 100 other people ask me this question all the time. So let me just answer it, right? Whereas the time stopping ability is you pause that question, and this is all happening in real time, and you look at that bullet and observe, is this worth answering right now? Is it adding value to what the customer needs to know, or how I need to progress this conversation? And then if it's not, you find a different answer. So in this case, like throw the bullet away. So maybe this is a security person that's sitting in the audience that just says, are you secure, right? Is it just saying, yes, we're secure. We work with the, enterprise Fortune 100 customers, end of the discussion, you move on. Or do you want to go into your very lengthy security protocol to answer that, right? So it's the ability to handle each objection and pause the meeting where everybody else is still active, or I guess everybody else is paused, but here you are observing this bullet to see how you want to address it, and then come up with your best judgment and give that response.
Yeah, I like that. The metaphorical matrix, the time stopper tactic. I love this because, and that's where I think also having the SE kind of co-pilot the plane with the
Yes.
AE, because the AE is often doing a lot of the talking. And so that the sales engineer is able to kind of, watch that bullet fly through the
Absolutely.
air and then just kind of, just
And
like
on
kind
both
of slow.
sides, right? Like it's as humans, we can't really listen and talk at the same time. So I think to your point, it's when the SE is talking, the AE's role is to observe how the audience is receiving, because they're going to have a better vantage point to be able to look at eyesights and body language and things like that, and vice versa. When the AE is talking, the SE shouldn't be on their Slack going, catching up with other people. It should be, what is happening in this meeting, right? Who's paying attention, who's not, why they're not paying attention. So yes, so being able to stop time, slow down things to fully understand before you jump to answer.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. And I think when you do things like that, it leads to pivots in the conversation that people never even the prospect never even realized. They didn't even know that about the bullet, right?
Yeah.
They didn't even know they could throw the bullet away. They didn't know
Or
they could time
sometimes,
stop.
people feel obligated, like if you're in a sales conversation, they feel obligated to ask questions, right?
Yeah.
And, especially if they've brought somebody technical, that person might be trying to show off that, I can ask some hard questions, see how these guys respond. And once you observe that, it's just a question for the sake of the question. You may not need to answer it to the depth that you might be thinking.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, I know we are short on time here, Sachin. You and I could probably talk for another couple of hours about your top BD tactics. And if I could just summarize the top 3 BD tactics that we talked about today, the first one was, hey, look, trusted advisor. The sales engineer is the trusted advisor, not just to the prospect and client. And they're also the trusted advisor to the AE and the business developer that may be involved in the conversation, because it's all rooted in truth. That sales engineer knows the technical capabilities of what's feasible now and what's on the roadmap for the future. And having that trusted AE in that discussion is absolutely critical for building trust. Tactic number 2 is the Batman and Robin. Having the empathy of the sales engineer to really look at the discussion, understand kind of the what is taking place, and be able to get to the real root of not just the extrinsic requirements that every other competitor probably already knows about, but those intrinsic requirements. Ask those profound questions that really lead to deep understanding of what the prospect really wants to achieve with the capability.
And be a chameleon, right? Once you observe that, be like shift into pivot, right? Pivot into what's needed in that moment.
Yep. A chameleon that pivots. And let's pivot right to tactic number 3, which is the metaphorical matrix, the time stopper tactic of slowing things down where the SE could just slow time, look at the bullet suspended in air, look at that bullet question that was sent right toward the AE and go, let's observe that and let's realize, okay, we can possibly even throw that bullet away, and really lead to those pivotal moments in the discussion, and kind of serve as that co-pilot to the AE, so that you're both backing each other up in the conversation and making sure that you're really addressing all of the needs of the prospect. Did I miss anything in that summary?
I think you've captured it well, Tony. Thank you.
Sachin, it's been such a joy to talk to you today. And folks, get his book. It's available on Amazon. Matter of fact, right now it's Kindle Unlimited, so you can grab that and get that right in your Kindle. It's available in hardcover and paperback. The book is called Trust Your SE. Sell bigger, better, and faster with your sales engineer. Get it on Amazon today from Sachin Wadhawan. Sachin, it's such a great time talking to you. I've got to get that shirt.
Yes,
please send me the link. We'll put
I
that
will
in the
follow
show.
up and send you a T-shirt.
All right, sounds great. I can't wait to wear that around town and to my next prospect meeting with my sales engineer.
They would love it. Thank you for having me, Tony. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sachin. Have a good day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Business Development Podcast. Join our free community of corporate partners and business development professionals advancing the art, science, and ethics of the business development profession at gbdassociation.org.